Monday, and welcome to this edition of the Racing Insiders podcast. I am Kate Dillon with Crate Insider, and I am here today with my co-host Steve Hendren from Hendren Racing Engines. So, how you doing there today, Steve?
Good, not bad.
Good. It's kicking off Monday. It's going well for you, or is it just like a Monday?
It was a Monday.
Oh, okay.
So normal parts don't show up because of FedEx and shit like that. So
yeah,
it was a day.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, any exciting happenings over the last week?
Nada.
Well, we won at trivia.
Well, yeah. But that's like trivia.
Yeah, we had a good time. We played trivia on Tuesdays.
We actually dominated trivia. That was actually pretty
good. We did great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a great team. It was good. So, welcome to the show, anyone who's here. And if you have a tech question, feel free to drop it in, and we are happy to answer on the show. I see we actually got a question over the last few days here, and Tori has dropped it into the comments for me to be able to put up on the screen.
Of course she did.
Yes, because she's amazing assistant Tori, and it looks like this person maybe have a whole lot of explaining here, so it looks like it's going to be in a few parts, but
it's like a friggin' 12-part question.
It kind of looks like it. So here we go. So I haven't pre-read it. I just know it's here. So let's see. What are your thoughts about bearing spacers and brake drag on the front tires? Are bearing spacers worth it? Looks like we're going to have a whole bunch of qualifiers here.
Let me, all right.
Go for it.
So, number one, bearing spacers are absolutely 1,000% worth it. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter whether you're running 007 hubs or standard hubs, you need to have bearing spacers.
Okay.
So, no doubt about it.
Well, and he's saying, and what about brake drag on the front tires? How much brake drag is too much?
Any is too much.
Good to know. He says, I didn't like how much resistance there was on the front tires of my car in a Southern Sport mod to freely rotate, so I installed bearing spacers last week. Mm-hmm. The hubs rotate about 5 to 6 times freer now. Went from 2 rotations just from a single push of my hand to 10 to 12 than they did before, which Correct. I was happy about. But when I hooked the brakes back up, there was so much brake drag that the end result didn't seem to make a difference. Back down to 2 rotations of the hub from a push of my hand. Yeah. My dad downplays the benefit of the spacers and says that brake drag is normal. So should I leave things the way they are, or is there something I can/should do to make this better?
I'm not familiar with the kind of brakes that you have to run on that car. I assume it's some sort of stock type caliper. But yeah, there's plenty of things that you can do as far as, the O-rings that you're using in the caliper itself, and the piston, stuff like that. Plenty of things you can do to eliminate drag. But your dad downplaying the bearing spacers is 1,000% wrong.
Right.
The bearing spacer is the number one thing you would need to do. Number 2 is, get rid of that brake drag, no matter what you have to do.
Well, and it's interesting because you and I both went to both of the Race Logic chassis schools this year, both for the crate late model as well as for the street stock. Yeah. And one thing that I picked up from all of that, and I don't know what your situation is from F name, in name. I don't know what that means. First name, last name. I guess that's just kind of our template here. First name, last name. Right. Anyway, I don't know who asked the question. But one thing I picked up from Ben Baker from AFCO, who is brilliant when it comes to brakes, is that a lot of guys run a 1-inch master cylinder and they run a 7/8 master cylinder. And if that's your situation, you might want to take a look at running both of them as 1-inch master cylinders. That's what Ben's recommendation is.
Usually it's 7/8 on the back, but that doesn't apply to that particular portion.
Oh, okay. It's on the back. Well, I don't know. That was just one thing I picked up from the Race Logic chassis school. And
that doesn't apply to that particular question.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, I just didn't know. It could be what brake drag would be from. What else could cause drag? We didn't talk about
the caliper not releasing.
Okay.
Is generally what it is.
Gotcha. So it's the weak point. So definitely take a look at different calipers. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Thank you. See, that's why you're here, to be smart. So, all right, let's say hi to some folks. I see Scott is here from the Wild West of California, and Kevin is here from South Georgia, and J. Mike Burns is here. He says howdy. Chris is here from Canada. We're Canadian here. So it's funny. I learned now that So what I can see on my end is it says CA, but if you're looking on Facebook, there's actually a Canadian flag. So
is there?
Yeah, that's why I was, there was a little confusion on this end. The flags,
which Canada might as well be California. So
so sad,
or vice versa.
So sad,
exactly.
So sad. All right. William is here, and he says, "Hello. Where should the fuel be at in the sight glass, front and back on your carb?"
On ours, normally run at the top of the sight glass.
Top of the sight glass. Great. Got it. Great. And Darren is here. Oh, and Chris mentions that I got it right this week. But now he knows why I can't see the flag. I actually do know some flags, a few of them there. And also Timmy is here from Honia Path, South Carolina.
Never heard of that place.
I have not either. It might be the Rutherfordton of South Carolina. Small town. That's where we live, or I live anyway. Great. So any questions you guys have, feel free to drop them in.
Don't. We can leave early.
Oh my gosh.
So I can get some sleep tonight.
Did you not sleep well last night?
No, I actually slept pretty decent last night, but it was like one of those, I woke up before my alarm clock, so I've been tired all day.
Oh, gotcha. It's been really hard. I was trying to do like a news diet and not really watch the news. I haven't seen any headlines at all today because I've been working all day. But over the weekend, I just couldn't tear myself away to see what was going on overseas. I'm sure you are too, but you've actually got some friends over there.
Yeah. I mean, you spent a lot of time in Ukraine, so yeah, I've got quite a few friends over there.
Yeah. It's I haven't seen
so far they're holding out.
Yeah, well, good for them. Yep. That's what freedom's all about. All right, here we got another question. James says, "What is the normal operating coolant temp for a 602 on gas?" He says it's pump gas, unfortunately.
I mean, ideally you want to be somewhere between 180 and 200 for peak power, basically 200, 210, 205, somewhere in that range. Above that temperature, you're basically thinning the oil out enough on most oils to where you're going to cost yourself a little bit of power. Other than that, as long as you're not pushing water out of the system, hell, I think it run 260 if it wants to. So
pushing water is the key.
Pushing water out of the system is what hurts engines, not the actual water temperature itself.
Yes. Oh, and Timmy, my chocolate lab family in Pennsylvania. This was did I tell you that story? I went to Hershey, Pennsylvania when I was up there at Bernheisel. Yeah. And Timmy and his family, I go to this chocolate museum and sign up for this class. And they're like, "Well, you're by yourself. Go sit with those three people over there." The three racing people in the town of Hershey that's exactly who I'm sitting next to. Because I look and I'm like, she's got a racing shirt on and he's got a Penske shirt on and he's got like a Dryden hat. They've got to be racing people. Right. And so that was super cool. It was really great to meet the Jones family.
That's cool.
In Pennsylvania there. That was fun. Yeah. We got to make a chocolate bar and it was cool. All right. So where are you off to? Oh, you're getting another beer?
Yep.
All right. You have to tell when you get back, you have to tell us what you're drinking today.
Well, it's obvious because I've been drinking it the whole time.
Well, I mean, you know what? The podcast listeners cannot see what you're drinking.
Oh.
Yes.
Future sponsor of the podcast, Bud Light.
Yeah.
Or Anheuser-Busch, whatever you want to say.
Well, and if it was Anheuser-Busch, don't they also own Stella?
They do, actually, yeah.
So, I mean.
Actually, Stella owns them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, given a choice, well, I mean, I guess you have a choice every day, but you're drinking Bud Light.
Yeah.
But isn't Stella your favorite beer?
Absolutely.
Okay. Why don't you drink it every day?
Because I don't like it out of a bottle.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Does it need to have like nitrogen or something in the keg, or can you just get a keg?
Yeah, I mean, I've got it before for the kegerator.
Yeah, I thought you did.
I mean, the glass is what makes it taste the way it should taste.
Yeah, well, I have a kegerator and I have Stella glasses, so just bring the keg. Bring keg, and you can be drinking Stella.
There you go.
Yeah, easy enough. Yeah. Who wants to be the keg sponsor?
But if I drank Stella, I'd also be fatter than what I actually am right now. So
gotcha. Yeah, you're right.
Need more fat beer.
Drinking your diet beer. Exactly. Diet beer. Yeah, that's fun. So have you gotten any questions this week that you feel would be a good thing for sharing?
No, I had a few dumb ones, but Of course, I always say there's no such thing as a dumb question, but there was a few dumb ones this week.
Yeah. I have some exciting.
Or last week.
Yeah, I have some exciting news. My exciting news, I talked to ProFab on Friday, and we are expecting headers to start shipping out 2 weeks from Friday, so that March 11th. So I am starting to take pre-orders on the 604 dirt late model headers. Now, I don't have a solid date on the 602 headers yet, so just hold tight. We're going to get I think they're going to crank out the 604 headers first, and then we'll be taking a look at a timeline for the 602 headers. But that feels huge. I mean, yeah, I don't have them in hand, but what I've been really waiting for is something that could be a pretty solid date. So, rather than just taking your money and hoping that they're going to come out sometime. Man.
Kind of like I've done with 604 engines. Taking people's money, and we're just sitting there going, where the fucking hell are they?
Now, have you heard any updates or anything? Is there anything coming out of GM with 604s right now?
Last I heard was last week. And one of my dealers spoke to Bill Martins, apparently on his way out the door because he's retired or whatever. But apparently they're building 35 a week.
35?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
But there's no news as far as when they're actually going to start sending them out in mass.
35 a week. I mean, that reminds me something my grandpa used to say. I mean, that's not enough for a dead woman and a sick baby.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It's not a lot. Boy, that's
but they got like 500.
But something
They got like 550 or 600 of them on back order around the country.
So that tells me that we're just 20 weeks out. We're 6 months out just to fill the back orders, not including keeping racing going. And then 6 months from now,
we're on the same situation with the 525s.
Really?
Yeah, I can't even get a 525 right now.
Well, I knew you couldn't, but I didn't know if they were. Well, I mean, if they had any kind of a timeline. I
don't know.
Looks like we're all 602 racing this year, huh?
Evidently.
Golly gee. But it wouldn't take much for them to run out of those either. Yeah. I don't think they're cranking those out at high speed or anything.
Yeah, it's not super high speed, but I think it's more of a production line build than what the 604s and the 525s are.
Yeah.
I know more than the 525. 525s are all hand built.
But. For sure. Great. Here's a good question. So Tommy says, can you run 604 headers on a 602? Yes, but as far as the bolts the bolt locations will fit, but the exhaust ports, and I wouldn't do it with ProFabs because they're CNC flange, but with other ones where it's like a solid flange, but you're going to block off part of the port.
Yeah. I mean, some header brands you can, but usually on the ones that are actually precision done, like such as the ProFabs, the bolt alignment versus the port height is going to be different between the two engines.
Yeah, so it's not going to gain you anything. BA actually has one of theirs that is kind of universal before the 602 and 604. For the guys that are going to go back and forth.
Right.
But for getting, especially with the ProFabs, I mean, you're just not going to want to spend that much money for a precision part that is only going to halfway get you there.
Right.
That's just the honest truth. Okay. Oh, here's a good question. Dylan Hat says, how much oil do you recommend running in a 525?
Normally what we're doing, because we're not running coolers on them anymore. So we eliminated the cooler. So basically we're just running the external filter. And on average, it's like 8.5 to 9 quarts total with like a 1 quart filter.
Okay.
What I'll recommend doing, I mean, if you can, just to check it, is you take the sight plug out of the out of the kick out on the passenger side and take that sight plug out, and then you want to be just below that level with the engine running it up to operating temperature.
Okay. So that's a really good tip. That's something we haven't really talked about a lot on the show.
Yeah.
And, I think there's a lot of opportunities for getting some of that information.
What I tell everybody is like pour 8 quarts in the thing, start it up, and then if you need to add oil till you get to that level. But, you want the oil to be warmed up so everything's expanded. Great. And that's after they're primed or? Yeah. I mean, this is like when the motor's running. So, yeah.
I mean, because the priming is really the big thing. I know I got that question over the week where someone asked about like what you would have to do getting
the first
a new
time you start up.
525.
Yeah, it's 1,000% though.
And well, I think he was asking me about a priming system, some like Jackson priming or something. I was like, I don't know. I mean,
there's a lot of LS priming systems out there. So
okay. So
really,
I mean,
normally, like when they come from me, I mean, if I built it, they're already primed when you get them.
Right. Because that's the hard part. That's the part where you could really screw it up is in the priming of the engine.
Well,
all right.
Where they used to get all explodey when they first came out because nobody knew how to prime them. They just cranked them over in the starter till they got oil pressure.
Yeah. Like, let's just
the bearings are wiped out to that point.
Yeah, so yeah, you don't want to do that. All right. Chris says, does ProFab make headers for 602 asphalt modified?
I'm quite sure they do.
I know they make them for the asphalt cars, but I don't know specifically about the modifieds.
I'm sure they do. I know they make them for 604 modifieds.
Yeah, but asphalt modifieds are kind of different. They're cool.
I just said,
yeah,
they make them for some 604 modifieds.
Some, okay, gotcha. Oh, here's a good question. Rick says, can you run beehive springs on a 602?
No.
And tell us why.
Because they're not legal. The spring seat's completely different, but no, they're not legal.
Well, even if it
was that is one question I got this. I got somebody call me and say, "Hey, I heard we're gonna be allowed to run beehives on a 602," and it's like, no.
Well, I mean, the rockers are different. They like everything's different about the 602 top end stuff, right?
Yeah, from a 604, absolutely.
Yeah.
But no. Number one, they're not legal. Number two, they won't fit.
Well, I mean, not everybody has to deal with a legality situation. It could be you're putting it into a hot rod. If you're
trying to put a 604 on a 602, then no, it's not going to work.
Gotcha. All right. Ooh, here's a good question. Mike says, does Steve have hair on the top of his head? Don't think I've ever seen him without a hat on.
No, I'm like I will never go bald.
Don't say that. You will curse yourself.
Well, no, I've said it all my life and I never will.
Yeah.
I got too much American Indian blood in me to go bald.
Yeah, you need to grow it so you can start braiding it. It'd be really a cool look for you.
No.
Take you back to your hippie days from California.
I never had hippie days in California. That's why I don't live in California anymore.
But it'd be really fun. It'd be really fun.
Not really.
Yeah. I mean, the advantages.
Yeah, I know what you say though. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that like, cover up the baldness with, a hat. Steve cam. Yeah, no, I'm all good. No bald spots.
Nope.
Still a little bit of brown left.
Yeah, you always get this like frosted look just on the edges, and it's just crazy because
it changes in the summertime sometimes.
Yeah, my gray hairs come at the root, so yeah, it could be the, get a little work done. Can't tell since it's in a ponytail. I was going to look all pretty for the podcast, but that just didn't happen. I was still working. But that was a really good question. Good question. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm always shocked when I see someone take off their hat and I'm expecting them to have hair and then they don't.
Well, the irony is it's all in my head because I've got like no hair on my arms.
Wow.
I'm like a hairless person, really, other than
hairless rat. Yeah. Just on your head.
Yep.
Well, that's where it belongs. So that's a good place to be.
Or my legs. I don't have hairy legs either.
No, you don't. Dennis, I see hi from Oz. Yay. Big floods down here in Brisbane.
I saw that.
Gold Coast. I think I opened up Facebook and just saw a picture. Like, what in the heck?
Yep.
It's crazy. What's it from? I mean, is it like torrential rain? Okay.
It's usually what flooding comes from.
Wow, I get that. It could be snow melt. It could be breaking a dam. It could be like a hurricane or a tsunami. I didn't watch the news, so I don't know. So,
rain.
Well, then thank you. There's multiple causes of floods.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, am I right or what?
Yeah.
So I just didn't know. Okay. Next question, Chris. A coolant reservoir best on intake or other location? Must be for power steering, maybe? I mean, there's only reservoir.
Coolant, meaning probably water. Best on the intake or another location. I mean, if you're just running a reservoir, like a return reservoir, something that's like an overflow that drains back in the system, and honestly, it doesn't matter where it goes.
Great. Okay, here's a question, James. Kate, what company was it that built headers for the street stock that were under the frame rail exit? You done a video with them? I seen somewhere. Under the frame rail for street stock.
ProFab does.
Is it ProFab? Okay.
Yeah, they do under the frame, and then they do over the top.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. David Smith carburetors said, I'm slick bald. Bald is beautiful. No, it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just always shocking.
I never met David in person, but he's probably hairy.
Either.
He's probably hairy everywhere else.
Yeah.
Just because the bald guys are always hairy everywhere else. So.
I know. And I still have yet to meet him in person, but we definitely talk, on a pretty consistent basis. Love his carburetors. Flying Brian is here. He says, howdy from New York. Great. Welcome. Oh, and yes, water. Your water was reservoir. So you're saying it doesn't matter.
If you're
where
just
you
talking
put
like
that.
an overflow tank that returns it, once everything cools back down, then it doesn't matter where it's run.
Yeah. Oh, Trent's got a great question. Hi, Kate and Steve. Did you ever post up Jimmy's rap video from the Cars show? I don't think we did. I mean, I know we shot all that, but I know Tori was working on editing it, but I'm not sure where we're at with that. I'll check on that this week.
Good idea.
Yeah, because it was really interesting. So anybody who wasn't at the Cars racing show, my brother is Jimmy Schiltz from Dirt Rap, and he was doing demonstrations on how to wrap a race car. So we were filming it. The we, as in I had people do it. So Alex did it one day, and then my nephew Luke did it the second day. But I actually haven't seen any of the footage. Yeah. I'm more of the, hey, let's film it and here somebody edit it. Let's get it out there. Yeah. I was running around doing other stuff, but great question. I will follow up with Tori tomorrow and see where we're at with that. Cause I'd like to see it. And I think that would be a really helpful information for a lot of guys that are out there wrapping their race cars. He's got a lot of great tips and tricks on things. And, he's been doing it for over 20 years. I think it's like 25 now. Yep. So pretty cool. All right, Shawn has a good question. Which fuel filter do you recommend using for E85?
Stainless element. A brand, I don't have a preference, but it just needs to be a stainless element. Yeah,
and like Crate Insider, we happen to carry the Willys fuel filter, and
which is a very good one.
Yeah, but I know there's other, one of the
there's other brands, but I'm just saying, the stainless element is the key.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the orientation of the filter in the element inside the fuel filter. Haven't you found a lot of people install it backwards?
I've seen some backwards, but usually they come with directions. So if you can follow directions, you're all right.
And then we laughed. All right. John's got a question. He says, does the Walker Performance 14-inch cleaner setup compare to the flat base setup you guys are big on?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, their dropped base that
on
low profile
on a crate motor. Absolutely would not run one.
Yeah, we tried them out and
tested them, tested them on the track, everything else, and the dyno doesn't lie in this scenario. So no, I would not run one. And I've also seen guys that make the mistake of running the flat air cleaner base, you sell with the dropped lid, and that is a freaking power killer from hell too.
Oh, really?
So. If you're going to run that flat base, run either the flat lid or run a dome, normal standard dome lid.
Right. No, that's really interesting. Yeah. And why that was developed was for the guys if they're going really fast and fuel is sloshing around and coming up through the carburetor, through the air filter, and slamming the driver in the face. That was the purpose for why they came up with that setup. And for supers, you can see where there'd be that connection. And I sold them for a little while, but they weren't, obviously I love Walker. I sell lots of Walker filters. So I'm not trying to say anything bad by any means.
No, the filter
just wasn't the best choice for our particular market.
Not crate racing. I mean, supers where it doesn't matter whether you're giving up horsepower or not. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Right.
Run it all day long.
Andy is here from ProFab. Hey guys, just left the shop, welding 604 header tubes. Andy, thank you for joining us on the show. And I was just announcing earlier that I started taking pre-orders today. So I know I have a limited number of sets. I've already sold one set, from earlier today.
Why did he leave the shop?
Oh, could it be that he has beautiful Bree at home?
I don't care. He needs to be welding headers.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, at 8:25 at night.
Yeah, send him back to work.
He's probably been there all day long. Yeah. Well, why aren't you at work?
I'm here doing this shit.
How many engines? Well, and if you weren't, would you be at the shop?
I probably should be, but no, probably not.
Nope, we can't burn ourselves out. Burnout is bad. All right, here's a new question. Kenney says, what is the best fuel for a CT525 and what ignition timing?
Fuel wise, I'm still partial to, we've run like my son's car on E85 and we had a couple of issues with that. Don't put that damn camera on me. I hate that shit.
I love it.
I'll answer the question normally. Where the fuck was I?
Best fuel for 525.
Yeah, we ran my son's car on E85. We had a little bit of problems with it. I think it was because of the timing program we were trying to use. Because we were trying to mimic some of the stuff we'd done with 604s. But to me, I mean, the CHP, honestly, I think it runs better than the 85 on those 525s. It's going to take a lot of work on our dyno to come up with something timing wise that I think is going to be equal to what CHP is with what we're using on ignition timing there. Generally, we're between 32, 34 degrees.
32 to 34 degrees.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Doug mentions, he says, hey, talking about that fuel filter. He says, I put the filter in backwards once on alcohol. Took a bit to figure out what was wrong. It did not run well.
Right. Yeah. No, it won't. You did not follow the directions.
Yeah, right. All right, next up, Mike says, what is the average horsepower gain on a 602 from race 110 to E85?
Average horsepower gain?
Yeah.
On a 602, just off the top of my head, you're probably going to see at least 10 horsepower, but you're probably going to see about 25 foot-pounds of torque or more.
And it's really about the torque that more than anything,
I don't
right?
give two shits about horsepower. Torque is what I want.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be like a quote that we just print out. And I don't give a shit about horsepower. Torque is what I.
I mean, not on crate engines. I mean, torque's what gets you rolling, gets you going. That's what beats the guy to turn number one. Mm-hmm. You don't pass anybody at the end of the straightaway in a crate car.
That's very true.
Unless it's the dude doing 30 miles an hour slower than you because he's been lapped for the fifth time. But other than that, everything's on takeoff and up off the corner.
Yeah. And he was going to ask about
which is what torque is.
Yeah. So torque, of course, is the important aspect of why you would change your fuel.
Correct.
And you're not seeing anything really that's beating E85. I mean, obviously, we can't run alcohol East Coast.
No, alcohol would be a totally different story because that's my number one choice always if it's available to run and per your rules. Which it should be everywhere. I have no idea why the hell we can't run methanol. But
I was just talking about that today.
It's one of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
Well, I just think it's because people have copied and pasted the rules, and somebody made that decision a long time ago.
That's essentially what it is. I mean, it's a copy and paste deal for a lot of different series. But yeah, I mean, methanol should be allowed everywhere. Everybody's bitching and complaining about the cost of fuel. Let's go. I'll go methanol racing, then we won't have to bitch and complain.
Very true.
And you got more money to spend on your high-ass dollar tires that everybody's going to have to buy this year.
Yeah, I talked to a racer today who specifically went down to East Bay, and before they went, they called and said, hey, if I make this trip, there are going to be tires to buy. Oh, sure. Yeah, you'd be fine. You can buy up to 5 a night in 3 nights of racing. So you could buy up to 15 tires. It makes this giant trek down there. But 3 tires, 3. Yeah. I mean, at least he was able to buy some from some other racers. But What do you do with that? I mean, there's just nothing you can do about that. Yeah. All right. Here's a great question. And I just saw the first few words. But Jeff asks, running CHP Plus, should you have a return fuel pressure regulator to avoid a vapor lock from under the hood temperature?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, CHP Plus is something that you should absolutely be running a return with. And also be very, very extremely careful with that stuff because it will eat the shit out of everything in your entire fuel system.
And just to clarify for anyone who's not familiar, CHP, which would be crate horsepower fuel from VP, the CHP Plus is also from VP, but it is an entirely different fuel.
It's got M5 methanol in it.
Yeah. And so it makes it a lot more volatile.
It eats the shit out of everything in the entire fuel system.
Yeah. And if your engine isn't timed right, we've seen some
and
things go bad.
It's illegal in most everywhere.
Well, it's illegal in on the East Coast here, where with most of the racers that we deal with on a more regional basis.
Yeah, Crate USA, stuff like that.
Right. I don't know about other areas of the country.
Yep.
But so you want to watch out for that.
Yeah.
Well, something I remember you telling me a long time ago. What's the interesting thing about CHP is that it vapor locks at a really low temperature.
It's like 95 degrees.
Yeah, really low. I did just warm up your engine a little bit, and you could potentially vapor lock.
Which is why we run it's the main reason why we run return systems.
Yes.
Number one is keep fuel cool.
Yes. All right, next up, Mike says, Steve, what's your thoughts on American Racers 48 versus the Hoosier 1350s for crate racing?
Honestly, I haven't run that 48. The only 48s I ever ran when I was running super late models years ago, and it was a freaking great tire. I know they've changed the rubber. It's not the same 48 that I used to run. I think if everybody's on them and it's a cheaper tire, awesome.
Potentially if it could last longer, even better if it doesn't stick to the racetrack as much. So someone like me who's a fan could actually watch some racing would be great.
Yeah. I mean, 1350s, I've never been a fan of a 1350, honestly. Just the times, the years I ran them, just was never one of my favorite tires.
Gotcha. And Jeff adds on to the CHP Plus, he had corrosive stainless steel fittings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or corrodes, I'm assuming. Yeah. A lot of corrosion there with
and anything rubber in the system.
Oh, yeah.
Including sight glass O-rings.
Oh,
things of that sort.
I'm sure that would be one of those hidden things. And then next thing you know, you're like, what's going on? Why is my carburetor leaking?
Yeah. It raises hell on everything.
Mm-hmm. And then you don't have the pressure. And then, lots of things. Lots of ways for that to go bad. All right. What other questions you guys got? Go ahead and drop them in. Yeah. Any exciting things coming up this week?
Work. That's it. I mean, there's nothing exciting going on this time of the year other than just assholes and elbows if you walk in the shop right now.
Well, I mean, your son's having a birthday.
Well,
I
thought this is a racing show usually, so I thought we were talking racing. But yeah, no, my littlest guy, he's got a birthday this Saturday.
Well, I mean, we're people too.
Yeah.
I'm just asking people questions. Well, looks like that's about it for questions. And, that's about it for questions.
Good, I get the hell out of here.
Okay.
I had to go dog food shopping.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to have an upset little doggy. Well, all righty. Well, we're going to wrap things up today, and I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for being part of the show. We'll be back next Monday, and if you want to, spread the word, tell people about us being on Facebook and YouTube, and you can catch us as a podcast. If you like listening in the car, you can catch us on Racing Insiders podcast. Find that over on iTunes. And thanks for watching. See you guys next week.
See ya.